There's a little noticed provision in the new version of Trump Care that nobody really caught until the LA Times went through the bill with a fine-tooth comb. So listen to this. The senators exempt themselves from the loss of consumer protections. A convoluted provision in the amended measure exempts Congress and its staff members from the loss of guarantees for those with pre-existing conditions and other consumer protections. You won't find the words Congress and exemption next to each other anywhere in the bill. You have to know that 1312D3D is the provision of the Affordable Care Act requiring members of Congress and their staffs to obtain coverage through the Obamacare exchanges. And then notice on page 167 of the Senate bill that the elimination of consumer protection is non-applicable to that section. How amazing is that? So understand, this was one of the things that Republicans used as a key talking point against Obamacare. They would say stuff like, anything that the American people should be subject to, people of Congress and the Senate should be subject to. So how dare we exempt ourselves from Obamacare? And they use that as evidence of like, oh, it must be so shitty. Must be so shitty that we're giving them that health care. We have different health care. We should all be on the same health care. And campaigns were run on that. And then now, when the Republicans have complete control, and they're crafting Trump Care, and they're on, I don't know, version number 4, I think, of Trump Care, trying to somehow marry the really, really extreme conservatives with just the regular extreme conservatives. When nobody's looking, they're like, oh, why don't we slip in that we get the protections for pre-existing conditions? Because, of course, who the fuck doesn't want protections for pre-existing conditions for themselves? Who doesn't want it? There's not a single person on the planet who would say, if it's for me, yeah, pre-existing condition protection, I'm good. Everybody wants it because it's fucking common sense. Through no fault of your own, you had some sort of condition, you lose your insurance for whatever reason, you lost your job or what have you, you missed one payment, doesn't matter. Well, now, I can't get covered. So the people who need coverage the most can't get covered because our system's that shitty. And they decided everybody else, yeah, it's optional on a state-by-state basis. So the red states are going to say, nobody's protected for pre-existing conditions here. The blue states will keep those protections. But all the people in red states are going to be victims now as a result of that. And now Congress says, well, obviously we're going to exempt ourselves. We deserve the protections for pre-existing conditions. So you know what this shows me? It shows me that they know how wrong they are about stuff. That's what it shows me. Because if you really had the courage of your convictions on this, you would think, no, it is preferable to not cover pre-existing conditions across the board. Philosophically, it is a position that is better than the opposite of covering everybody with pre-existing conditions. If you really believed it, you'd be happy to say, yeah, I don't need the protection. I don't think that protection should exist. Protections for pre-existing conditions. That puts an unfair burden on the health insurance company. So obviously I'm going to lump myself in the crowd that shouldn't get protections for pre-existing conditions. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that because they don't actually have an ideological, philosophical position that they thought through. They did it because they want coverage and protection, and they don't give a fuck about their constituents getting coverage and protection because their real donors are the ones who they're crafting policy for. That's the private health insurance companies, that's Wall Street, and that's every other big money donor. So this is such an admission, man. Nobody knows this, nobody talks about it, but this is something every Republican should be the most mad about. They should be saying, what the fuck? I thought we were trying to make a bill that's good here and that is good for everybody and is in line with our philosophy and our ideology, but you're exempting yourself. What the fuck is this? Giant, disgusting, grotesque hypocrites. And they don't even believe the words that come out of their own mouths. Because if they did, they'd say, yeah, I don't want protections for pre-existing conditions either. I think that's a bad idea. But no, they think it's a good idea. When it's them and their families' asses on the line, they love that idea. Just like they'd love Medicare for all if it came down to saving their own families' lives. So they want, taxpayer-funded healthcare for them, but not for you. Not for you. Not for somebody they don't know, some icky peasant who they don't want to have a normal, decent life.